I ruined my boss's life, and I'm not sorry. The open plan office buzzed with the low hum of ambition and fluorescent lights. I, Ethan, freshly minted from a decent state school and armed with a marketing degree, felt like I'd finally arrived. Chicago, a real job, a corner of a desk with a view, albeit partial, of the Sears Tower. My boss, Richard, greeted me with a handshake that was a little too firm, a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Ethan, welcome aboard, glad to have you on the team. We're doing great things here, really pushing the envelope. He gestured vaguely at the surrounding cubicles, a kingdom of khakis and muted gray. The first few weeks were a blur of introductions, training sessions, and trying to decipher office politics. Sarah, a marketing manager with a sharp wit and a permanent air of weariness, took me under her wing. "Heads up, kiddo," she said one afternoon, leaning conspiratorially across my desk. "Richard likes to take credit. Make sure you document everything, Saya, you know?" I laughed it off. "Come on, is he really that bad?" Sarah just raised an eyebrow. "You'll see." I did see. Slowly, subtly. Richard would ask for my input on projects, then present my ideas in meetings as his own, barely acknowledging my contribution. He'd assign me grunt work compiling spreadsheets, formatting presentations while he networked and schmoozed with clients. He'd find fault in every detail of my work, no matter how perfect it was. He never seemed to notice anyone else but himself. I started staying late, fueled by lukewarm coffee and the burning desire to prove myself. I ignored Emily's concerned glances when I finally got home, my eyes bloodshot, and my patience worn thin. HR didn't care that I was working past midnight daily. HR didn't care that I was skipping lunch daily. HR didn't care that I was getting yelled at for making rookie mistakes. I started documenting everything, as Sarah had suggested. Emails, meeting notes, even casual conversations where Richard made dismissive or condescending remarks. The file on my computer grew, a digital chronicle of my growing frustration. Then came the campaign, the one that was supposed to change everything. It was for a major client, a national restaurant chain. I poured my heart and soul into it. Weeks of research, late nights brainstorming, countless revisions. It was innovative, edgy, and perfectly targeted. I was proud of it. Richard, of course, took notice. He started hovering, asking for updates, offering suggestions that were usually just veiled criticisms. He wanted to understand my vision, he said, with that same insincere smile. I naively showed him everything. I wanted his approval, his validation. I was playing the game. The day of the presentation, I was buzzing with nervous energy. I'd rehearsed my pitch a dozen times. I had a killer slide deck. I was ready. Then Richard walked in, adjusted his tie, and announced, "I'll be leading the presentation today. Ethan's been a great help, but I want to ensure everything aligns with the overall company strategy." My blood ran cold. I stood there, frozen, as he launched into the presentation. My presentation. Every idea, every statistic, every carefully crafted phrase coming out of his mouth. The client loved it. David, a senior executive I actually respected, praised Richard's visionary leadership. Richard beamed, basking in the applause. I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to disappear. After the presentation, I confronted him in his office. "That was my work, Richard. My campaign." He leaned back in his chair, a smug look on his face. "Ethan, you're a talented guy, but you need guidance. I just helped you refine your ideas, present them in a way that resonates with the client. You stole it," I yelled, my voice shaking. He just shrugged. "That's not how I see it. I see it as mentorship." He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a condescending whisper. "Besides, who are they going to believe? You, a junior associate, or me, the executive director?" That was it. That was the breaking point. I knew then that I couldn't win by playing by the rules. The system was rigged. I needed to fight back. I didn't quit. I didn't make a scene. I went back to my desk, my mind racing. I started planning. My revenge wasn't going to be quick or easy. It was going to be slow, methodical, and utterly devastating. I would dismantle Richard's life, piece by piece. First, I needed allies. I started reaching out to other employees who had been mistreated by Richard, people who had been passed over for promotions, had their ideas stolen, or had simply been subjected to his constant belittling. It wasn't hard to find them. They were everywhere, simmering with resentment. I started subtly leaking information to David, the senior executive. Anonymous emails detailing instances of Richard's mismanagement, his habit of taking credit for others' work, his inflated expense reports. I knew David was a stickler for ethics. I knew he would investigate. I overheard Richard bragging to a client about a project he'd single-handedly saved. I sent the client an anonymous email with links to articles and presentations that proved the project had been a collaborative effort and that Richard had actually hindered its progress. I even befriended Richard's wife, a seemingly oblivious socialite who spent her days shopping and lunching with her equally vapid friends. Over glasses of overpriced wine, she casually revealed details about Richard's finances, his gambling debts, and his extracurricular activities. I filed it all away. Then came the opportunity I had been waiting for. Richard was tasked with overseeing a major rebranding campaign for a struggling tech startup. It was a high-stakes project, one that could make or break his career. I saw my chance. I started subtly sabotaging the campaign, feeding Richard bad data, suggesting ineffective marketing strategies, and deliberately misinterpreting his instructions. I made sure that his mistakes were witnessed by clients and senior management. The campaign was a disaster. Richard became increasingly paranoid, snapping at his colleagues, making rash decisions, and blaming everyone but himself. He was unraveling. David, the senior executive, finally launched an internal investigation. He interviewed employees, reviewed documents, and uncovered a mountain of evidence of Richard's incompetence and unethical behavior. The investigation culminated in a closed-door meeting with Richard, David, and the company's legal counsel. I wasn't there, but I heard the details later through the office grapevine. Richard was confronted with the evidence. He denied everything, of course, but the writing was on the wall. A few days later, Richard was gone. He was forced to resign, his reputation in tatters. The company issued a press release vaguely alluding to leadership changes and a commitment to ethical conduct. I watched Richard's downfall with a strange mix of satisfaction and unease. Part of me felt vindicated. I had finally gotten justice for myself and for all the other people he had mistreated. But another part of me felt guilty. I had spent months consumed by revenge, sacrificing my time, my energy, and my own well-being. The final blow came a few weeks later. I was working late when I saw Richard stumbling out of a bar across the street, looking disheveled and defeated. I watched as he fumbled with his phone, trying to hail a cab. He looked like a shell of the man he used to be. I walked over to him. He didn't recognize me at first. "Richard," I said quietly. He looked up, his eyes bloodshot. "Ethan, I just wanted you to know I said that I did this. Everything that happened, it was me." He stared at me, his face contorted with rage. "You ruined me, you ruined yourself, Richard," I replied. "I just gave you a little push." I walked away, leaving him standing there alone in the rain. I got a promotion a few months later. I was offered Richard's old job, but I turned it down. I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to create a different kind of work environment, one where people were valued and respected, not belittled and exploited. I often wonder if what I did was right. Was it worth it? Did I become the very thing I hated? I don't know the answer, but I do know this: I refused to be a victim. I stood up for myself, and in the end, I reclaimed my own sense of self-worth. And that, I think, was worth fighting for.